I hadn't planned for any surprises. Birthdays had become just another day, really. I'd long stopped expecting anything extraordinary. But that morning, as I stared at my phone in the dim light of the early hours, I knew something was about to go terribly wrong. It wasn't the usual birthday greetings or well wishes that sent a shiver down my spine. No, it was something else entirely. It was her message. "Can we talk later?" was all it said. I stared at it for what felt like an eternity, the screen glowing in the dark room. My wife, Zara, had sent me that text. It didn't make sense. I had woken up expecting the usual happy birthday, love from her, a small kiss, maybe a hug before we started the day. We were used to the quiet, routine mornings. But this was different. The words, "Can we talk later?" didn't feel like a simple request. It felt like a warning. I didn't get out of bed right away. I just lay there, trying to make sense of it. My mind raced, but nothing clicked. Zara and I had been together for 6 years, married for 3. There were no signs, no red flags. We'd had our disagreements, sure, but nothing that warranted a cryptic text message like this, especially not on my birthday. The minutes dragged on, and as I sat there, I found myself growing more anxious. I had no idea how long I had been staring at that message, but eventually, I mustered the strength to reply. "Of course. What's going on?" It took what felt like hours before she responded, but when she did, I could feel the tension in her words. "I'll explain when I get home. Just wait for me, please." That was it. I couldn't get a read on her, and now my mind was in overdrive. What had she meant by that? Why couldn't she tell me whatever it was over text? Why did she need me to wait? The feeling of dread started to settle in, but I brushed it off, trying to push aside my concerns. After all, it was supposed to be a special day. My day? I tried to get ready for work, but I couldn't focus. Every time I glanced at my phone, I found myself expecting another message, an explanation that would clear up the confusion, but nothing came. I was a nervous wreck by the time I left the house, checking my phone every few minutes as if somehow the answers were waiting for me. But there was nothing. When I finally returned home that afternoon, Zara wasn't there yet. I sat down on the couch, staring at the empty room, the quiet of our apartment now feeling suffocating. I had expected her to be home by now, especially after her odd message earlier. But as time passed, the silence grew louder, filling the space with uncertainty. Was she avoiding me? Was there something I didn't know? The questions piled up, each one heavier than the last. Finally, the door creaked open. I stood up immediately, my heart pounding. There she was, looking more tired than usual, her eyes puffy as though she had been crying. "Zara?" I asked, barely able to contain the rush of emotions that hit me all at once. "What's going on?" She closed the door behind her and didn't answer at first. She just stood there, as if she couldn't bring herself to speak. For a long moment, we both stood in the silence, the air thick with tension. Then, she took a deep breath and finally looked at me. I don't know how to say this," Zara whispered, her voice trembling. "But I've been feeling like we're not connected anymore. Like something's missing. I'm not happy, and I don't know if I can keep pretending." I froze. It felt like the ground had slipped out from beneath me. The words didn't make sense. What was she talking about? We'd been through ups and downs, but this felt like a punch to the gut. "Zara, what do you mean?" I asked, barely able to find my voice. "We've been fine, haven't we? What do you mean, you're not happy?" She shook her head slowly, as if I wasn't understanding her. "I don't know. I just feel trapped, like I'm stuck in something that isn't right. And I've tried to convince myself that everything will be okay, but it's not. It hasn't been for a long time." I felt the weight of her words, but even then, something didn't add up. If she had been feeling like this, why hadn't she said anything before? Why wait until now, on my birthday of all days, to drop this bombshell? "I don't understand," I said, shaking my head. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Why now?" "I didn't know how to say it," she admitted, looking down. "And part of me didn't want to face it. But I can't ignore it anymore." I tried to wrap my head around it, but nothing made sense. She was telling me everything I had feared but never dared to acknowledge. That something was broken between us, something deep, something unspoken. And I had no idea how to fix it, or if it was even possible to fix. I could feel the panic rising in my chest. Was this the beginning of the end? Had we reached a point where there was no turning back? And just as quickly as the dread had come, a wave of guilt and confusion crashed over me. Maybe I had been blind. Maybe I hadn't been paying attention to the signs. But then something strange happened. Zara's expression shifted. The sadness in her eyes gave way to something else, something almost panicked. "I'm sorry," she whispered, almost like she was trying to reassure herself. "I didn't mean to make you feel like this." I stared at her, confused. "What do you mean? What's happening, Zara?" She shook her head again, a tear escaping down her cheek. "I didn't mean it like that. I love you, okay? I really do. But I don't know what's happening to us." Her words felt hollow, like they were just a patch over the gaping wound of whatever was really going on. And that's when I realized I had no idea what was coming next. This wasn't just about me and her anymore. This was about something much bigger. And whatever it wasn't going to be easy to fix. The air between us was suffocating. Zara's words hung in the space, thick and heavy, as if everything that had been unsaid in our relationship had finally spilled out in one painful moment. I watched her closely, hoping for some kind of explanation, something that would make sense of the sudden storm that had hit us. But she didn't offer any clarity. Instead, she stood there, silent, as if she were waiting for me to say something first. I didn't know what to say. How do you respond when the person you've been sharing your life with suddenly tells you they feel trapped? That the connection you thought was unbreakable was, in fact, fragile? My mind raced. This wasn't just a bump in the road. This was the kind of thing that changed everything. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, my breathing becoming shallow as the reality of her words sank in. "I don't understand, Zara," I said, my voice shaking despite myself. "We've been fine, haven't we? Why are you saying this now? Why today?" Her eyes were empty, distant, as she took a step back, almost as if she were trying to put more space between us. She folded her arms tightly, her gaze shifting away from mine. "It's not about today," she said, almost absent-mindedly. "It's about everything. It's been building for a while, and I just didn't know how to tell you. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm not happy. I haven't been for a long time, and I've been pretending to be okay." Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. I could feel the walls I'd built around myself start to crack. Pretending? Had she really been pretending? All this time, I thought everything was fine. I thought we were in sync, that we were moving forward together. But now, it felt like the ground beneath me was giving way. "Why didn't you tell me before?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, the hurt seeping into my words. "Why keep it inside if you were feeling this way?" Zara's gaze softened for a moment, but there was no answer. She just shook her head, as if words couldn't fix this. "I don't know," she muttered. "I didn't want to hurt you. I thought maybe it was just a phase. But it's not. And now I can't pretend anymore." I stood there at a loss. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her everything would be okay, but I wasn't sure if I believed that myself. The distance between us felt like an insurmountable gap. She had given up something we had built together, but she hadn't told me why, or even when it started. I couldn't understand it. For a brief moment, she looked at me as if she were seeing me for the first time. "I've tried to ignore it," she said softly. "But I can't. I've been thinking about other things, and I just don't know where we're going anymore." I could feel the panic rising in my chest again, but I swallowed it down. "Other things? What does that even mean?" I asked, now completely confused. Zara looked down at the floor, avoiding my gaze. "I don't want to hurt you, but the truth is, I've been thinking about someone else. Someone who makes me feel like I'm not invisible, like I matter." The words felt like a slap in the face. My stomach churned, and I could feel the blood draining from my face. "Someone else?" I repeated, almost too stunned to speak. "Are you saying you've been seeing someone else?" She didn't respond right away. Instead, she wiped a tear from her cheek, her face flushed with guilt. "I never meant for it to happen. It's just that things have been different between us for so long, and I didn't know what to do. I never planned for it, but now it's out in the open." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. The words were out there now, raw and jagged, and I had no idea how to process them. The one person I trusted, the person I thought would always have my back, had been hiding something from me, something I wasn't prepared to face. My mind raced. "What do you want me to do with this information? What do you expect from me?" I asked, my voice breaking, barely able to hold it together. She looked at me, eyes wide with regret, as though she knew how badly she had hurt me. "I don't know," she whispered. I needed you to know. I needed to be honest with you. I can't keep living this lie." It felt like the world had tilted on its axis. I had no idea what to do next. Should I walk away? Should I fight for us? Or was this the end of something that had already crumbled behind the scenes? I didn't know the answers, but I knew one thing for sure. My world had just shattered, and nothing would ever be the same again. The silence between us stretched on, thick with tension. I couldn't wrap my head around it, couldn't make sense of the bomb she had just dropped. Zara had been thinking about someone else, and well, I was frozen in place, trying to breathe through the shock of it all. I don't know what to say, I whispered, feeling every word crush me as I spoke. Why didn't you tell me before? Zara's hands trembled as she wiped her eyes again, still avoiding my gaze. She didn't speak for a long time, and in that silence, every thought I had seemed to spin in circles. Was it over? Had she really been seeing someone else? Or was it just a fleeting thought? Could our relationship really be that broken? I should have told you earlier, she finally said, barely above a whisper. But I was scared. Scared of how you'd react. Scared of what it would mean for us. But now, I can't pretend anymore. Her words cut deeper than I expected. The fact that she had been carrying this weight around, not trusting me enough to share it, felt like betrayal. I stepped back, trying to process everything. My mind was a mess, but I couldn't focus on anything except the idea of someone else. Someone who had made her feel seen, wanted, and alive. Who is he? I asked, my voice hoarse, the question slipping out before I could stop it. Zara hesitated. I don't want to say. I don't think it matters anymore. But there was something in her tone, something that made me feel like she was hiding more than just a name. I could barely hold it together. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew everything about our life together. But this was like a wall that had been built between us, and I was standing on the other side, unsure how to break through. Just then, her phone buzzed on the table next to us. Without thinking, I grabbed it. Zara's eyes widened in panic. Don't, she pleaded, her voice cracking. But it was too late. I unlocked her phone, and there it was, a message from someone saved under a name I didn't recognize. The text was short, but its presence hit me like a ton of bricks. Can't wait to see you tonight, it read. My heart stopped. I looked up at Zara, who was now visibly shaking, tears streaming down her face. Who is this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Her face paled. Please, just put it down, she begged. I didn't want you to see this. I didn't want it to come to this. But I couldn't stop. The text, the name, everything about it was like a puzzle piece falling into place. I didn't know whether to be furious, devastated, or both. I need answers, Zara. Now. She took a deep breath, as if steeling herself. His name is Ethan, she admitted softly, her voice trembling. He's someone I met a few months ago. At work. It started off innocent, but I don't know. We connected in a way I haven't felt in years. The words felt like a slap, and I could hardly process them. Ethan. Another man. Another piece of her life that I didn't know existed. Are you seeing him now? I asked, the words tasting bitter as I spoke them. She didn't respond right away. The air in the room felt suffocating as she looked at me, her eyes filled with guilt and confusion. Finally, she nodded, almost imperceptibly. Yes, I've been seeing him, but it's not what you think. It's complicated. The room felt like it was closing in on me. Complicated? What does that mean? You're having an affair, Zara. That's not complicated. That's betrayal. She winced, as if the words physically hurt her. I didn't want to hurt you. I never meant for this to happen. But I've been struggling for so long, and he's been there for me when I needed someone. I could hardly look at her. The woman I had shared my life with, the one I thought was my partner in every sense of the word, had been living a double life. I didn't know who this person was anymore. I don't even know who you are, I whispered, more to myself than to her. The words stung as they left my mouth. Zara stepped closer, reaching out to touch my arm, but I pulled away. I wasn't ready for comfort. Not yet. Please, she said, her voice breaking. I never wanted this to happen. I never wanted to lose you. But I wasn't sure anymore if I could believe that. How could she have been so close to me, yet hide something like this? How long had she been keeping this secret? The phone buzzed again, and this time, I didn't hesitate. I picked it up and saw another message from Ethan. I'm thinking about you. Are you free tonight? I stared at it, the words blurring in front of me. Zara was standing there, watching me, waiting for some kind of reaction. But all I felt was numb. My mind was reeling, and I couldn't focus on anything except the realization that everything I thought I knew was wrong. I don't know what to do with this, I said, finally looking her in the eye. How do we fix this? How do we even begin to fix this? Zara's face twisted in anguish. I don't know. I don't know if it can be fixed. And that's when I realized this wasn't just a fight. It wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was the unraveling of everything we'd built together. And there was no going back. I couldn't stop staring at the phone, at that simple message from Ethan. The words felt like a punch, each letter stabbing deeper into my chest. I'm thinking about you. Are you free tonight? How could she have let this happen? How could I have been so blind? Zara stood there, watching me, waiting for something. For an explanation, maybe. But how could I even begin to understand this? I didn't know what to say. So this is it, I asked, barely able to keep my voice steady. You've been seeing him behind my back? And you thought I wouldn't notice? Or did you think you could hide it forever? Zara's eyes were full of regret. But there was something else, fear. Fear of losing me, maybe. But it didn't matter. I was losing her right now, and that realization hit harder than anything. I didn't want it to happen this way, she whispered, stepping closer, but I took a step back. It just happened, and I don't know how to undo it. Her words were a blur in my mind. I was trying to process everything, but it felt impossible. The trust we had built, gone in an instant. And all for a man I had never even met. Do you love him? The question slipped out before I could stop it, and the silence that followed was deafening. Zara opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She just stood there, her face pale, her hands shaking. I don't know, she admitted, her voice barely audible. The truth was staring me in the face, and I wasn't sure if I could handle it. Had I been that neglectful? Had I missed the signs? Or was it just her own choice to betray me? I had no answers, only questions. For the first time in years, I felt like I didn't know the person standing in front of me. The woman I thought I knew had turned into someone unrecognizable, someone capable of something I never would have imagined. I don't even know who you are anymore, I whispered, my throat tightening with every word. How could you do this? Zara collapsed onto the couch, her face buried in her hands. I never wanted to hurt you, she cried, the sobs shaking her body. But I did, and I hate myself for it. I never meant for any of this to happen. It was a mistake, a stupid, selfish mistake. I wanted to feel angry, to yell at her, but I didn't. I just felt empty. I was numb, like all the life had drained out of me in that one moment. I don't know how to fix this, I muttered, more to myself than to her. I don't even know if it can be fixed. Zara looked up at me, her eyes red from crying. I don't know either. But I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I turned away, not wanting to look at her, not wanting to hear any more apologies. What was the point? The damage was done, and no amount of sorry could erase the betrayal. The room felt colder now. The weight of everything pressed down on me, and I couldn't breathe. What were we supposed to do now? How did we move forward from here? I think I need to be alone, I said quietly, the words slipping out before I could second-guess them. Zara nodded, tears still falling down her cheeks, but she didn't try to stop me. She knew, just as I did, that nothing was going to make this better. Not today, not anytime soon. I walked out of the room, the silence following me like a shadow, and as I stepped into the hallway, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything had changed. There was no going back from this. And as much as I wanted to pretend like we could fix it, I knew deep down that our world had shattered, and there was no putting it back together. I spent the next few hours walking aimlessly around the apartment, trying to make sense of everything. But the more I thought about it, the less sense it made. Every corner of the place felt like a reminder of the trust we had built, and now, that trust felt like dust in my hands. Zara was in the other room, crying, I assumed. She hadn't come to find me. She hadn't tried to speak to me since I walked away. And as much as I hated myself for it, I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. I couldn't pretend like everything was going to be okay. Not when the betrayal was so raw. The silence between us was unbearable. I knew she wanted me to talk, to make a decision. But how could I? How could I decide whether we had a chance when everything felt so broken? I grabbed my jacket and stepped out onto the balcony. The city stretched out below me, the lights flickering like tiny stars, but I didn't feel any sense of peace. I felt empty. That's when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I took it out, half expecting it to be Zara. But when I saw the name on the screen, my stomach dropped. It was Ethan. I stared at his name for a moment, feeling the weight of it settle in my chest. I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to know what he had to say. but I couldn't stop myself. I swiped the screen and answered. Hello. There was a brief pause on the other end of the line. Then, his voice came through, calm, collected, like he didn't have a care in the world. I know you're probably angry right now, Ethan said, his tone too casual for my liking. But I just wanted to talk. Talk about what? I asked, my voice low, trying to keep my anger in check. I think you should know that Zara and I, we're not just casual, he continued. It's more serious than she's told you. I felt my blood run cold. More serious? My mind raced as I tried to process what that even meant. How serious could it be? What the hell does that mean? I demanded. She's married to me. What could possibly be more serious than that? Ethan sighed, a sound that made my skin crawl. Look, man, I'm not trying to cause any problems. I'm just telling you the truth. Zara's been unhappy for a while, and I've been there for her. I think you know that, but maybe you're just not ready to accept it yet. I felt like the floor was dropping out from beneath me. I could hear the faint sounds of traffic below, but it felt miles away. You've been there for her, I said, the words tasting bitter. So what? You're just playing the hero now. Ethan didn't seem bothered by my anger. In fact, his voice remained annoyingly calm. I didn't want to be the one to tell you this, but Zara's not the same person she was when you first met. She's been changing, and not in a way you'd want to hear about. Maybe it's time you faced the truth. I wanted to hang up. I wanted to throw the phone against the wall, but something kept me on the line. So what now? I asked, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and disbelief. You want me to just accept this? That my wife is having an affair with you? I'm not asking you to accept anything, Ethan replied, still calm. But I think it's clear that she's made her choice. You can keep pretending everything is fine, or you can face the reality of the situation. The words hit me like a slap in the face. My mind spun, the room around me starting to feel suffocating. I'll decide what happens between me and Zara, I said, my voice hardening. I don't need you to tell me. There was a pause, and for the first time, I heard a hint of something different in Ethan's voice. Concern, maybe, or even a slight hesitation. Just think about it, he said softly, almost too softly. You deserve better than this. Don't let her drag you down. And with that, he hung up. I stood there for a long time, holding the phone in my hand, staring at the screen. The words kept echoing in my head. You deserve better than this. Was it true? Had Zara changed? Had I been blind to everything she had been feeling? But no matter how much I tried to deny it, I knew something was broken. I knew that this wasn't the life I had envisioned for us, and I had no idea how to pick up the pieces. I turned around and walked back into the apartment. Zara was still sitting in the living room, her face hidden in her hands, her shoulders shaking with quiet sobs. I wasn't sure if I could forgive her. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to. But I knew one thing. I needed to make a decision. And the longer I waited, the harder it would be. I walked back into the living room, the weight of everything still pressing down on me. Zara hadn't moved since I left. Her sobs were softer now, but the pain in her eyes when she looked up at me was impossible to ignore. She opened her mouth, like she was about to speak, but I cut her off before she could. I just spoke to him, I said, my voice low. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. Ethan. Her face paled. You spoke to him? She stammered. She was trying to stay composed, but it was clear the conversation with him had shaken her. She stood up slowly, taking a step toward me. Zara, don't. I held up my hand, trying to keep my composure, but everything felt like it was slipping through my fingers. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice trembling. I never wanted you to find out this way. I let out a bitter laugh, though it sounded more like a choke. How else would I find out, Zara? You think I wouldn't see the signs? You think I wouldn't know something was wrong? My mind raced, but my voice was steady, calmer than I felt. You've been hiding this for months, and now you think saying sorry is enough? She opened her mouth to respond, but I didn't want to hear it. You don't get to do that. You don't get to throw this at me and expect me to just forgive you, I said, the anger finally spilling out. Her eyes were wide, pleading. I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted any of this to happen. I love you, I do, but what? I interrupted. But you love him too? Is that it? Do you even know what love is anymore? Zara recoiled at my words, as if I had slapped her. She shook her head rapidly, her tears falling faster. No, it's not like that. It's not about love. It's about me feeling lost. About needing something that I wasn't getting. Her confession hit me like a punch. She wasn't just telling me about an affair. She was telling me she had been drifting, detached from everything we built. I tried to make it work, she said, her voice breaking. But somewhere along the way, I stopped feeling like I mattered to you. And Ethan, he was there when I needed someone, when I needed to feel alive again. The truth was like acid in my veins, burning, making everything worse. So you used him? You used him to fill the hole you created in our marriage? Zara flinched at the words, but I couldn't stop myself. The hurt and betrayal twisted inside me like a storm. I didn't use him, she whispered. But yes, he gave me something. Something I didn't realize I needed until it was too late. The silence between us was suffocating. I didn't know what to say. What was left to say? I had trusted her. I had given everything, and now it felt like it had all been for nothing. I felt a coldness settle over me. I need time to think. I don't know what to do with any of this. Zara's face crumpled with desperation. Please don't leave. I love you. I don't know how to fix this, but I'll try. I will do whatever it takes. But the words felt empty. She had already broken something beyond repair. I wasn't sure if I could ever look at her the same way again. I can't do this right now, Zara. I need space. I need to think, I said, my voice trembling despite my attempts to stay calm. She didn't try to stop me as I walked toward the door, but the look on her face, the regret, the fear, stayed with me. She had destroyed the one thing we had, and now she was asking me to fix it. I couldn't fix it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I stepped out into the hallway, closing the door behind me. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't care. But I knew I couldn't stay there, in that apartment, surrounded by the memories of a life that was now a lie. The night was quiet, but my mind was anything but. I couldn't escape the thoughts of Zara, of Ethan, of the mess that had become my life. I found myself walking through the city streets, trying to clear my head, but it felt like my feet were moving without me. I didn't know where I was going, and frankly, I didn't care. The cool air hit me like a slap, but it didn't help. Nothing helped. I thought about calling a friend, anyone really, but who could I talk to? Who would understand this? How could I explain everything that had just happened? Even I didn't understand it. I ended up in a small park near the edge of the city, away from the noise. It was a place I used to go to clear my head when I needed space. The stillness of the park seemed to mock me, though. It was too calm, too quiet. I sat on one of the benches, staring at the stars, but even that didn't bring me peace. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. There was a new message from Zara. I'm sorry. I know I've hurt you. Please, come back. We can fix this. I stared at the screen for a long moment, unsure of what to do. I wanted to reply, to tell her it was okay, that we could somehow make it work. But I couldn't lie to myself. I couldn't pretend that things could just go back to normal. I typed something, then deleted it. What could I say that would make a difference? I put the phone back in my pocket and leaned back against the bench, closing my eyes. What was I supposed to do? Leave her? Stay and try to rebuild what was left? The more I thought about it, the more I realized I didn't even know who I was anymore. How could I trust her again? I stood up and walked back to the apartment. The streets felt longer on the way back, like each step was dragging me into a future I wasn't ready to face. When I reached the building, I hesitated before going inside. I didn't want to walk back into that space, into the house that no longer felt like home. But I had no other place to go. The door creaked open, and Zara was sitting on the couch, waiting for me. She looked up at me, her face pale, eyes red from crying. Please, she whispered, standing up slowly. I'm sorry. I didn't want any of this. I didn't know what to say. Everything felt wrong. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said, the words heavy, but true. Zara's face fell, and she stepped forward, her hands shaking. I don't expect you to. I just want a chance to make things right. Please, let's talk. I stared at her, the weight of everything crashing down on me. There was nothing left to say, nothing left to do. The room was still, heavy with the weight of everything we'd been through. I could see the pain in Zara's eyes, but there was something else too, hope. It was fragile, barely there, but it was enough to make me hesitate. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Everything inside me wanted to walk away, to leave the hurt behind and move on. But another part of me, the part that still loved her, despite everything, couldn't just let go. I don't know if I can ever trust you again, I said quietly, my voice breaking slightly. I don't know if we can go back to what we had. Zara's face crumpled, but she didn't back down. I don't expect things to go back to the way they were. I can't erase what I did, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild, to prove that I'm still the woman you fell in love with. There was a long pause. The silence between us felt unbearable, but for the first time, I saw something in her eyes, a real, raw sincerity. And something inside me shifted. I don't want to lose you, I said, almost to myself. But I don't know if I can live like this either. Always wondering if you'll hurt me again. I won't hurt you again, she whispered, stepping closer. I can't change what happened, but I can be better. I can be the person you deserve. For the first time, I truly believed her. The pain wasn't gone, but it didn't have to define us forever. We could rebuild, slowly, carefully. Maybe it wouldn't be easy, but nothing worth fighting forever is. I reached out and took her hand. She looked at me, tears still in her eyes, but a faint hope flickered in them. I'm willing to try if you are, I said. And in that moment, something shifted. We had both made mistakes, but we weren't broken beyond repair. We were two people who had lost their way, but still wanted to find it again. Zara nodded, her voice small but full of resolve. Let's try together. It wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be quick. But for the first time in a long while, I felt like we had a chance. And as we stood there, hand in hand, I realized that sometimes the greatest strength comes from admitting our mistakes and choosing to move forward anyway. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, it didn't feel like I was walking it alone.